Now we will discuss the predicate. So predicate is a functional interface that came up in the Java 8, and in the predicate there is one abstract method, that is test, that is taking any type of input and return boolean. And these are the and, negate, or, is equal, and not are the default methods of the predicates. Let's see how we can use predicate. So I have implemented the predicate using the anonymous class. So here I am creating the predicate using the string type. So here this test method, in the test method we are taking string as our input, and this will return boolean. So I am checking s should not be null. So to call this predicate, we can call this test method on this object reference. So I am calling test with this input strings. So if I'm running this, so this will return true. This is returning true for this text study, and this is returning true for empty also, because we are checking null only, and for null it is returning false. Now, so here I am, this first bracket where we can pass the input, I am taking s as an input, and here I have passed the implementation, same implementation where we are checking s should not be null. So we can call this predicate same way, like we need to call the test method on this object reference with multiple inputs. So we will get same input, same output from this lambda function also. So if I am running this, we can see, so for text study I am getting true, for null I am getting false, and for empty string I am getting true. Now third is, as as we saw, like there are some default methods that are in the predicate. So I'm using one of them, that is a and. So we can create multiple predicate using this default methods. So so I have created first predicate, that is not null, that is checking the s should not be null. Second predicate I have created where we are checking the s should not be empty. Third predicate is the combination of null and empty. So I am, I have written like s is not null, then and is not empty. So first we are checking for null, then we will check for the empty. So to call this predicate, we need to call only test method. So I am calling test method for these three input. So if I am running this, yeah, so we are getting true for the text study because this string is not empty and not null. And for null is null, so that's why we are getting false here. Third is the empty string. So previously we are only checking for the null, here we are checking for also empty, so that's why we are getting false here. And one more part, like this predicate is like a condition, so we can use this predicate with a stream API as a filter. So we can pass predicate in the stream API as a filter. Next functional interface is the consumer. So in the consumer, we can pass any value, but this will not return anything. In the consumer, accept is the abstract method, and where accept is taking input any of any type and returning nothing. And this and then is the consumer default method we will use in our example. So first I have implemented the consumer with the anonymous class. So I have created the implementation as a anonymous class. So in the accept method, I am taking string as an input because this consumer is type of string, and I'm just printing the value of s. So here I am not returning anything. So to call the consumer, we need to call the accept method with the input. So I'm calling this consumer with the accept method. This is the input. So let's run this function. So the output is test. Now we will see how we can use the consumer as a lambda function. So yeah, so I have converted the same implementation as a lambda implementation. So first bracket is the input bracket where we can pass input or reference. So s is the string as an input. Here we can pass the implementation. So I have just passed the implementation system.out.println is equal to s. Now we can call the same way. I am calling the consumer with the accept method, and this is the input. So we can also use this consumer to print the list of numbers. So here I have created the number list, and I have created the consumer function, so where we can pass any number, and that this consumer will print the number. So here the consumer is the type of integer. So now how we can use this consumer with the list. We can pass this consumer to this for each function, and this will print one by one all the numbers. And we can also pass this consumer as this a method reference, so we can also remove this code line, code x and arrow also. And here we can pass the consumer as a method reference, because for each input type is the consumer, so we can pass any type of consumer here. So let's run this function. Yeah, here we can see it is printing first consumer example of this consumer of string type, then it is printing number 1 to 5, then it is printing one number 1 to 5. Yeah, now let's see the combinations of the consumer. So as we saw, there is one default method, that is and then, and we can create a new consumer using the and then. So let's suppose I'm creating a list of numbers, and first I have created the consumer for type of integer where I am printing the number, and second type of consumer printing the square of the number. So whatever input number we are passing, so this consumer is printing the square of this number. So we can create one consumer using and then scare dot and then number printer. So how this will work? First it will execute the scare consumer, then it will execute the number printer. So first we will see the scare of all the number, then we will see the exact number. So this will show one by one. So first number will pass to the scare, then same number will pass to the number printer, then second number will come, second number will pass to the scare, then second number will pass to the number printer. Let's run this function. Here we can see first it will pass to the scare, then it will pass to the number printer. So one is passed to the scare, then one is passed to the number printer, then 2 is passed to the scare. So 2 into 2 is equal to 4, then 2 is passed to the number printer, so it is printing the 2. So the next functional interface is the supplier. So supplier only returns, supplier do not take any input. So here is the supplier function. So supplier is having only one abstract function, that is a get. And here get is not taking anything but only returning, and there is no supplier default methods. So this is the implementation of the supplier. So I have just created supplier as an anonymous class, implement supplier as an anonymous class. So here I have implemented the get is returning the string because supplier is type of string. So to call the supplier, so just call the get method on the supplier instance. So let's run this function. Hey, we can see the output of this function. So let's see the supplier with the lambda function. So here I have created the lambda function for supplier. So same. So first bracket is for the input because supplier is not taking an input, so that bracket is empty. Then I have pass only the implementation of the get method. So I just pass the same implementation of the get method. So this string this player will return. So when we call this get message dot get, this will print the this message as output. So we can also use supplier with a list of numbers. So here this supplier is returning the list of number integers. So this will return the list of number. So to print this number, I am using the consumer. Already we discussed the consumer, how we can use consumer to print the number. So here get number dot get, this will give the list of number. On the list of number we are iterating using the for each, and this will print the numbers. So let me run this. Yeah, here, so first we are getting this and the number 1 2 3 4 5. So supplier combination. So as we saw, there is no default methods in the supplier interface. So only the get method that we already discussed. So there is no combinations possible in the supplier.